afternoon, all. My name is Leah June McRoy. Music and dance have always fascinated me, particularly its ability to connect people across the world. It's inspired me to explore and look deeper into its impact. A while ago, I took a solo trip to South Korea to fully immerse myself. At first, I felt completely fine and excited. But as the weeks passed, I started to experience culture shock in unexpected ways. I found myself wondering, why didn't I feel culture shock from the very beginning? What made my transition smoother than I had expected? Because of this, I wanted to study what made that transition easier. It wasn't because I'd consciously prepared for the social differences, it just clicked. Somehow, I already understood social cues, basic language, and unspoken rules. I realized that Korean entertainment played a major role in that. I wasn't just watching Korean entertainment, I was learning, and it was all just from engaging with that entertainment. Entertainment might be dismissed as mindless fun. However, it is a powerful tool, one that provides authentic cultural learning and prepares travelers in an unexpected way. I will discuss the key concept and details of culture shock, the key elements of Korean culture that travelers need to know, and how K-entertainment, especially K-pop, acts as a bridge to cultural understanding. By understanding entertainment as a method of cultural immersion, we can rethink the way that we prepare for travel, not through textbooks alone, but through music, film, and storytelling. With this method of using entertainment, culture shock effects can be reduced, which eases foreign traveling. So what is culture shock? Traveling to another culture is unfamiliar. There's different sights, smells, and foods, and even a different language. And the fact that the cars are shaped differently might be unnerving when you arrive as well. The new culture causes physical, mental, and emotional discomforts, such as confusion, anxiety, and other symptoms. Culture shock comes from the anxiety that results from losing all our familiar signs in social interactions. Experiencing culture shock has 4 distinct stages: honeymoon, frustration, adaptation, and acceptance. In the first honeymoon stage, you're thrilled by the cultural differences and think that you can handle everything without much adjustment. I remember when I first arrived in Korea, everything was very exciting. But this stage doesn't last long. It's actually the shortest part of the culture shock process. The second stage, which can be most commonly recognizable as culture shock, is frustration, or also known as irritation. New sights and smells become more bothersome than intriguing, and customs become stressful to keep up with. You can think of a rose-colored glasses analogy. In the first stage, you think everything is fine and it's very exciting. But then in frustration, reality starts to set in and difficulties begin to arise. Confidence and comfort levels also begin to go down during this stage. Negative effects also begin. For mental, it can manifest in anxiety, irritability, or loneliness, and for physical, tiredness and headaches. Homesickness is also the highest during this phase, and distrusting your host is also possible. While I was in Korea, after a couple weeks, I began to feel uncomfortable in my apartment building. I was staying up late because of my anxiety, and I realized because of my research that I was in the irritation stage of culture shock. Because you're feeling these harsh effects, you may withdraw emotionally or even physically from your host or the people that you've traveled with. This adds hardships to your trip and can sabotage the enjoyment. Irritation is also longer than the honeymoon stage, which makes it all the more difficult. The third stage is the adjustment stage. A traveler has been in the new culture long enough for the unfamiliarities to feel more normal. Here, you may begin to pick up the native language, behaviors, social customs, and even values as well.
Mr. Schramm, please go to channel 11. Mr. Schramm, channel 11.
In adjustment, confidence begins to return. You might have had frustration with a custom in the past, but now it feels more normal and comfortable. The severity and length of the adjustment stage depends on how much of a difference there is from your native culture to the foreign one that you have traveled to. The final stage is acceptance, or also known as adaptation. The last stage in culture shock begins once the adjustment stage is fully resolved, meaning there is little to no new unexpected factors while living in your new environment. In full acceptance, customs become instinctive, like a second nature, and it also may feel just as comfortable as home. So what is culture shock's place in travel? The culture shock process is prominent in foreign traveling, although many may not know how it is affecting them. Jet lag may seem like the source of the problem, And while that does hinder adjusting, it's important to know that that's not the only thing that can cause negative effects while foreign traveling. Research shows that culture shock's effects prolongs adaptation for travelers. Culture shock is unpredictable per person, making it hard to mitigate. Some of the negative effects are manageable, but there are worse ones as well, such as stress, which worsens adaptation speed, and it may even change your ability to complete the purpose of travel. So if you went to study or to sightsee, you may not be able to complete those activities because of your negative effects. Depression and anxiety are also research proven to cause decreased motivation and performance deficits. This can derail one's process of overcoming a culture. So how do we minimize culture shock's negative effects? Learning not only facts about the culture, but it also comes from experiencing authentic elements of it. I believe that entertainment is a trustworthy source for cultural information. Aside from the language and places to eat, how do you know what living there will be like? That is where authentic cultural learning comes in. Naturally, to understand how a culture functions, we must look at its origin. For Korea, their cultural basis lies in Confucianism, especially hierarchy. Modernly, this is shown in parent and child relationships, and also older and younger. Respect is also very important in the South Korean society. Korea's traditional beliefs spread to their daily practices. So this is why in Korea and other East Asian cultures, people bow to each other as a form of respect. To even deeper understand regular life, we can look at the things that the culture creates. For Korea, entertainment is a cultural export that is recognized worldwide. K-pop, short for Korean pop, stands at the forefront of this. K-pop is more than just music. It's a cultural phenomenon that is a window into South Korean society. Using a tool like K-pop helps travelers learn how a country functions by observing real people in their everyday lives. Watching K-pop artists interact in interviews, variety shows, and performances teaches foreigners about Korean customs, social etiquette, and more, in a way that textbooks never could. This passive learning experience helps travelers prepare for daily life experiences before they even step foot into Korea. So what does the K-pop industry actually look like? K-pop music stars are called idols in Korea. It's important to note that an idol doesn't mean a worshipped figure, but more of a celebrity and a role model. Idols make music content such as singing, music videos, and dance videos, and they also produce physical albums with collectibles for fans. During a group's career, they will work and release new content on a consistent, tight schedule. Fans in Korea and globally purchase albums, stream music videos, and listen to the music as well. There's a definite community with K-pop fans. Fandom culture is tight-knit and supportive. I remember how welcomed I felt when I went to a summer arts course at Fresno State University in California, where there was a group of K-pop fans. We can look into the details of K-pop training to gain even further insight. The way that idols train, work, and interact reflects Korea's deep-rooted values of respect, hierarchy, and discipline. By watching them do this, foreign audiences unconsciously absorb these social expectations. K-pop idols are trained in various aspects of performance. This is done to support the intricate style that K-pop brings, which consists of complex dancing while live singing. To do this well, the idols need a strong work ethic to go through this intense preparation. So how does this actually reflect South Korean culture? The years of tough and precise training that idols go through reflects the value that Korea puts on discipline, hard work, and teamwork. Confucianism is shown in K-pop by how idols respect their senior groups and their producers, with actions like bowing, respectful speech, and a show of group harmony. Authentic cultural content is accessible globally. The rise of K-pop made Korean entertainment more accessible worldwide. Artists like BTS, Blackpink, and Twice have introduced millions to the South Korean culture with their performances. K-entertainment isn't just about enjoyment. It's an unexpected yet powerful way to learn about a culture before experiencing it firsthand. Watching, listening, and engaging with Korean media teaches foreigners and gives them an advantage for daily life experiences. Since entertainment evolves with society, it reflects its unique identity. Stories, music, and performances embody a culture's values, beliefs, and history. Artists infuse their work with personal expression, making it not only a reflection of their journey, but also their culture. Korean entertainment is a perfect example of cultural capital. Cultural capital is the way a country's cultural products shape how it is seen globally. By consuming Korean music and media, international audiences become more familiar with Korean traditions, values, and social customs long before arriving in Korea. The K-pop boy group ACE blended tradition with modern K-pop. ACE performed the Arirang melody, a traditional folk song, in 2021. They incorporated Sungmu, a form of Buddhist dance, and also Hangbok, a piece of traditional Korean clothing, into that performance. Another boy group, Stray Kids, blended Korean heritage into their song Thunderous. Its music video features hangbok, ceremonial gongs, dragons, and historic architecture. Thunderous also references pansori, a form of native Korean singing. The song's Korean title, Sorikun, references the lead storyteller in pansori. So why do these examples matter? K-Entertainment constantly showcases Korean culture and subtly teaches audiences its cultural elements, making it a powerful learning tool for Korean lifestyle and traditions. For many K-pop fans, K-pop is their first glimpse into South Korean culture. They naturally pick up phrases, customs, and behaviors, turning simple enjoyment into cultural immersion. Fans pick up Korean words and phrases through song lyrics, idol interactions, and subtitles. Common phrases like 안녕하세요, which means hello, and 사랑해, which means I love you, are widely recognized by fans globally. In the K-pop fandom, fans engage with native Korean media. For example, Chuseok is Korea's Thanksgiving holiday. On Chuseok, K-pop groups wear hangboks and make a greeting video for their fans, wishing them health and happiness on the holiday. Social media directly connects international audiences to Korean culture through platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and fan forums. Many develop a natural curiosity about Korea itself, leading them to consider visiting. Additionally, fans watching live performances and idols singing in dance videos inspire them to experiment with the Korean style of performance themselves. My love for K-pop dance pushed me to learn even more, eventually leading me to South Korea and dance school, immersing me in a culture I had unknowingly been learning all along. This familiarity found from entertainment makes South Korea feel more comfortable, creating a more comfortable, adapting experience. So now that we know K-Entertainment's significance, how does it connect to reducing culture shock? Learning authentic cultural elements through K-Entertainment gives foreigners beforehand knowledge. Travelers can significantly lessen the unpredictability of culture shock, allowing for a smoother adjustment. Instead of arriving in a new country feeling lost, travelers who have engaged with K-Entertainment already recognize words, phrases, and even tone differences, which reduces anxiety of language barriers. Culture shock can lead to stress, disorientation, and even withdrawal. Travelers who already feel connected to the culture through entertainment experience less anxiety and more confidence while adapting. A 2011 study done on US college students visiting South Korea supports this. It's shown that the students who lacked basic Korean knowledge experienced significantly higher levels of anxiety while living in Korea. This data reinforces the need for pre-cultural learning. Authentic learning allows travelers to navigate their new environment with more confidence and ease. Being familiar is research proven to lower the risk of misunderstanding and cultural-based discomfort, allowing travelers to embrace the new cultural experience with fewer negative effects. Because I was so involved with Korean entertainment before my trip, my culture shocks were substantially lowered. Cultural learning with entertainment does not only benefit travelers to Korea, but every culture. So how do you actively go from a fan to an informed traveler? When watching a foreign entertainment of interest, instead of just watching, actively listen. Begin to repeat phrases, recognize patterns, and use them in day-to-day practice. This helps with both language comprehension and pronunciation. K-Entertainment isn't just something to watch, it's something that you can use. K-pop's culture prepares for real-world experiences in Korea and diminishes the effects of culture shock. This makes language barriers feel less intimidating for foreign travelers. With the right knowledge of culture shock and entertainment, a traveler can reduce negative effects and have a better experience, with more confidence and ease. How idols behave on screen showcases how respect and hierarchy functions in South Korea. Fans who engage deeply with these details already understand key social expectations long before they arrive in Korea. The more you engage with these details, the more naturally they become part of your understanding. If you're already consuming the content, let it teach you their authentic culture as well. Now with my research, I clearly understand what I went through in Korea, and I can share my understanding with all of you here today, to hopefully help you in your next travel adventure. Because in the end, a better experience abroad isn't just about being there, it's about being ready. And K-Entertainment gives you that advantage.
감사합니다. 감사합니다.
Senior thesis defense has a pretty specific way that we go about it. So thank you for that, Leah. Usually we start with just some comments as far as the actual presentation, and then we'll get to the fun stuff of the questioning,
Of course.
okay? You were a little bit over 15 minutes, in case you're wondering how long, so right.
Oh, I have a timer, but thank you.
So, great personal opening. You immediately connected us to your topic, which was lovely. You had really nice pace when you were in there at the beginning. You got faster in the middle, which is kind of unusual. I wondered if you were worried about time a little bit.
I don't know, I think I just kind of got more comfortable, which made me speak faster because
'Cause
I
you're
think
pretty-
everyone in the room knows how fast I speak.
You are a pretty fast talker, it's true. Your pace at the beginning was ideal, right, yeah, it really was. And of course, you are very poised, you have great posture, you had some natural hand movements that you allowed yourself to do as well. I didn't see you grabbing the podium or the squeaky podium making noise for you, so that was all great. Nice use of slides, some images, talking points. You never once flinched or tried to look behind you, so that was all
Yeah, just
lovely.
full trust in this group.
Lovely as well. Perfect. So let's jump into some of the questions, Leah. When did you realize that your experience with K-pop's entertainment piece was assisting you in your assimilation into Korean culture? Were you still there, or was it something you came back and put together?
While I was there, I don't think I consciously thought about it. I think I just realized, I don't think I realized at all because I already understood what was happening to me. But then it was more when I came home and people started asking me, like, oh, was it difficult? Was it this? And I'm like, hey, it wasn't that difficult. I wonder why. It did get difficult near the end, but I think it was because I was homesick and I was stressed as well. But it definitely happened when I came home and people started asking me how my difficulties were, and I realized that I didn't have that many.
And do you think that you could have had the same result if you had simply studied the steps as you outlined them for us as far as cultural assimilation, like homesickness and all of that? What if you had just looked at that piece of it before you traveled? Do you think you'd have the same benefit, or do you think really being immersed in K-pop was the extra that you needed?
Just to clarify, when you say look at the culture shock steps, do you mean those in addition to Korean entertainment or just
Just plain old culture shock.
so no entertainment?
Yeah,
at all?
in your introduction you kind of gave
Yeah.
us, there are these
Yeah.
steps. What if you just studied that knowing this was going to happen? Would that have been enough to prepare you?
I think it would have been a kind of a nice heads up because there were some feelings that I had that I didn't really know why. But I don't think it would have been as beneficial because I would have known why it was happening to me, but I wouldn't know what to do. So K-Entertainment definitely gives you the advantage of naturally knowing how to act in that culture. But I do definitely think that I would have benefited from knowing what culture shock was before I left. But I do think K-Entertainment helps you widely in how to adjust.
And now, do you think that it's possible, it's partly because South Korea is such a small country, so they can encapsulate in entertainment better than, say, a country the size of China or the US? You know, we've had international students come here who look at me in complete honesty and are shocked that it isn't Glee walking around the halls of the King's Academy.
Oh, yeah.
They think it's going to be like the entertainment they've seen. Do you think that made a difference?
I definitely think because when most travelers travel to Korea, they do go to Seoul, and a lot of the production and things and the storylines happen in Seoul. America, in comparison, each state has a different type of kind of mini culture that we have. So I think I do understand, and that is true, but for Korea specifically, I think when travelers come to Seoul, it matches pretty well with what happens in entertainment, because it's kind of like LA, where all the shows and actors live in LA, all the K-pop idols and all the production happens in Seoul. So you kind of know what's gonna happen because it's based in the same spot.
So our advice to those traveling to the US is go to New York or LA where most of the entertainment seems to originate.
Yeah, I would say know where you're going so that you can pick entertainment to watch that actually reflects where you're going to travel to.
And now what you've learned, Leah, I can't help but think it's useful in other ways. You know, next year you're gonna go off to college, and one could certainly argue that that is another type of culture shock that you enter into. So based on what you've studied, what you've researched, what advice would you give to say, hey, a rising group of seniors about to step off into a brand new culture?
I think I've definitely watched some TV shows that are based in college, and I feel like it does give a good idea, but of course it's never going to be 100% accurate in that area of topic because college is a varying thing depending on where you go, what kind of classes you take, and who you're with. But I mean, you could try out entertainment for college as well. I think it would be beneficial.
Maybe a little controversial. Don't watch Animal House. You know, we can definitely rule some particular entertainment pieces we don't want going home that we say we would watch. How about the other side of it, the adjustment factor? What are some of the things you learned about assimilating into a culture that you could apply to going off to a new job, a new school, a new state to live?
Yeah, I definitely think researching like what it's going to be like before you get there is definitely helpful so that you can kind of prepare your brain a bit more. It's never going to be exact preparation, but it can help. And then also you could find someone who's been there before. Part of my research as well was talking to native Koreans online, and then you can really learn how they speak, or you could talk to someone who's gone to Korea before. So I think the same kind of applies. So if you have a friend in college, you know, you can talk to them and see how it goes, or if you have a friend in a full-time office job, you can talk to them. So yeah, I think talking to natives definitely helps.
And of course, you traveled to Korea
I did.
and spent, how long were you in Korea?
I was there for 5 weeks.
For 5 weeks, which is a pretty long amount of time, right? Would you recommend that kind of travel, like to your friends going off to college, would you recommend that they would take an opportunity to travel abroad and live in a foreign country?
Yes. It is the craziest experience that I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm so grateful that I could go so young. I was not expecting to travel that far in high school, but it definitely opened my eyes to new perspectives and new cultures, and I can understand things more now. And it also just helped me grow as a person. And I found that when I came back here, I could understand like people a bit more, and it just helped me in so many ways. And especially if you go to study abroad, like you're studying as well, so you're learning content there as well, but also you grow as a person. And I definitely think it is a very, very beneficial experience that everyone should try if they have the ability to.
There are some schools that make study abroad mandatory, very small, but others talking about the idea of it. Do you think that there is merit to recommending that kind of study be required of a college degree or even a high school degree?
I think it's a good concept idea because I know how it helps you grow as a person, but then also some people might have certain limitations, or like money limitations could definitely be a big thing, so they couldn't get a degree if they can't afford to get on a plane. But then also some people just have like certain mental things where that wouldn't be possible for them, or it would be extremely uncomfortable or even not beneficial at all just because of how they are as a person. So I think it's a good concept, but I think required isn't really the goal. But I definitely think large encouragement and helping with it. So good assistance of the schools so that they can make sure that it's a good fit and that everything can work out.
Excellent. I'm gonna finish with one more question before I open it up to the floor in a similar vein. In this region, and perhaps it's all regions, but it seems more in this, you have those who travel and those who don't. You know, there are lots of people who the travel for them is going to the shore, and that's as far as they go, and they consider that a foreign culture to enter New Jersey. What kind of encouragement would you offer to someone who's nervous to travel, who they didn't grow up traveling, their family didn't travel? What would you suggest?
Yeah, we definitely like grew up going to the beach and stuff, but it is not the same. But I definitely think that you just have to take the leap and you have to be brave, because it was definitely hard for me. I think I helped a bit. It helped me a bit to not really fully understand what I was doing as I was going. I don't think my brain really understood what was happening as I got on that plane, but I did. But definitely just be brave and have courage, because like once you're there, you're gonna be like, wow, this is fantastic. Like, and I understand certain limitations of not wanting to go and certain things, but definitely if you have the ability and have some courage, it'll be really beneficial and extremely fun.
I promised that was the last
Okay.
question, but I'm gonna ask one more.
It's okay.
So did you have multiple out-of-body experiences where you're standing places and you're like, I cannot believe
Yes.
I am right here in this spot.
When the plane took off, I think I started crying, but I'm not sure. When the plane landed in America, I definitely started crying. But when my favorite group, their entertainment building, I went there and I stood there and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've seen this building on TV, like in my room, and now I'm standing in front of it, and I got to audition also, so I actually got to go into the training building and into the rooms that they train in.
Wow.
That was insane. I couldn't even. That was crazy, and I told everybody about it. So yeah, definitely some out of body inner K-pop fan experiences. But then also just seeing like just how the country works and all the buildings and everything. I lived in the middle of Hongdae, which is a very shopping young people district, and it was just so cool to see how people lived. And the train, I got to go on the train. I love the train. Definitely beautiful experience for me.
I know, I keep saying I'm gonna stop. Tell us about your little apartment that you were in.
My little apartment?
Yeah.
Okay, it was very small. I wanna say it was like the whole thing, including the bathroom, was probably like this corner. So like here.
Wow.
Including the bathroom and the shower, which by the way is like one Minecraft block wide. But yeah, and I had a little bed, same length as a twin, but thinner. So I fell off my first night. And the desk, same length as the desk, but thinner. So a book, my laptop barely fits on that thing. And I had like a little closet and stuff, I had a microwave and a fridge. It was really great. I got a little claustrophobic like the first week, but then I got used to it. But it was really great, and I liked having my own little apartment, so.
Awesome. I really will be done
Okay.
now. I'm gonna open it to all.
We can talk later if you want.
Well, and the thing is, I knew the answers to most of those, but I enjoyed them so much. So I'm going to open the floor to any of the adults in the room who would like to ask a question of Leah.
Mr. Shaw, I was expecting.
So first I want to make a comment, something that I really enjoyed, and then I'll have a quick question.
Okay.
But Western thought flow in presentations and things is very linear. Like that's the YouTube videos you watch, chapter, and it follows a line to follow. In Eastern presentations, it's usually more circular. And your talk was circular. You kept saying, it was like theme and variations. You kept repeating your thesis and coming back around, and you'd say it in different ways, different times, but you had different details and different things around it. And it was like very Korean, very Korean. So you must, I bet you, did you watch lots of
Oh yeah, the
Korean
amount of
books and YouTube
yeah,
videos?
the amount of content that I've consumed.
So
is,
like if they make a
phenomenal.
documentary, they probably make it in that
Yeah.
type of presentation, and you've assimilated that and you're using that. That's
Oh,
so
thank you.
cool. That is so cool to see that. But the question would be about you kept saying training,
Training, yes.
and here when I think of our pop stars, I don't think of them being trained. I just think they're their own boss, and they have talent. They do their own thing. I mean, they have a manager, and record labels sometimes say we want this or that, and we don't have any record labels anymore. But who's training it? Is it the government? Is it heads in the industry? Is it the previous generation of stars train the next generation? And how much is it like a submission system where they have to?
Yeah. So in the West, it's definitely more of like the artist can do what they want to do, and they can train as much as they want to. They do have like required things from their company and a contract and all, but it's definitely not as routine as it is in Korea. In Korea, an idol will start out basically like our age, like teenagers or younger even, and they'll audition for these companies at these open auditions. They'll sing and dance for about a minute, they might even do like a model walk or something, and then they might get called back for another audition. And once that audition process is complete, they basically go and train with the company's trainers. Like they have vocal coaches, dance coaches, posing coaches, and they train for about 3 to 5 years. It's a pretty rigorous process, and they do pretty strict things. But then after that, the company will take some of their trainees and they will pick them together and make a group, and then they'll start to train together, and then they see if the group functions well, and then they create a concept for them. Each group has a very distinct concept of what they follow and what they do, and then they give them a name, and then they do like a bunch of performances and stuff for pre-debut, and they see if the people like it. Then if they like it, they will debut with real music, and then they'll start creating music full time, and that's a thing. But it is a very long, rigorous, tough
So it's
Very-
more like the Olympics. It's more like
Yeah.
if you're an Olympic
Yeah,
athlete.
it is very
You have
rare.
a coach and a trainer and
Yes,
a team.
it is very
choose your
rare
team,
for
right?
them to even get accepted into a
Wow.
company. It's extremely rare.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a lot, and they actually produce like variety shows and survival shows that show the entire process. So fans can become more attached to the idols before they even debut, because they can be like, oh, I really want to see so and so like make it. So you can watch it all actually. It's really intriguing and really stressful to watch actually, because you can feel like how stressed they are. But it is definitely way more tough than it is in the West.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I loved it. It was very nice. So I have a selfish question. It's been 51 years since I've been in Korea. I think when I go back in September, I'm gonna experience culture shock. What did you find, other than falling off your bed, what did you find most surprising that you didn't anticipate?
I think a lot of the things in Seoul I was definitely like okay with. I mean, people look at you weird when you're a foreigner because they don't assume that you really know much, and then they don't really want to talk to you. But I think I experienced like more culture shock or just more unfamiliarity when I went to the smaller towns. Like Myeongdong is a pretty small town. It's popular, but it's smaller and there's less people, and it's a little different. So when I went there, I definitely experienced a little bit of, okay, I don't know what's going on. But then when I went back to my apartment in Seoul, Hongdae, I like felt fine. But it's just like when I separated myself a little bit more from where I lived, took a longer train ride, stuff like that, I experienced some things that I maybe hadn't seen. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 or 3 specific instances where I remember thinking to myself like, whoa, this culture's different. But it was so like long ago, I actually can't tell you what it was because I actually don't remember. But I wish I did, because then I could like help more. But yeah, did that answer your question? Yeah.
I think it's gonna be quite different for me too.
Yeah.
It'll be a culture shock for sure.
But it's so nice. Hi.
Did you have any, when you came back to the States, did you have any reverse culture
I
shock?
did, and I actually studied that, and it's so interesting.
Interesting.
I totally had reverse culture shock. Like the way, when I came back to school and I left class, I started bowing and saying thank you. Like that's what and then when I would come in, I would like whisper under my breath like hello, because it's just so normal for me at the time, because that's just what I did. And then at home, I was definitely speaking way more Korean, and my mom was trying her best. She knows a couple words, but it's not full sentences. But yeah, definitely. And then also the food. The food really threw me for a loop. When I first got to Korea and I started eating their food, I got a little sick because my body was adjusting. When I came home to the States, I did not feel good after eating American food. I just didn't. So definitely the food culture is different. So that was like a culture shock. And then also just talking to people. I actually went to church the day after I got off of my flight. I like 8 hours of sleep, but tired. And like full time zone switch, but I went to church and I was talking to people, and it was just weird because people talk differently, and it's just I threw myself back into the American culture. Sorry, threw myself back into the. It's clear. I threw myself back into the American culture very quickly. I don't know if I would do that again, but yeah, definitely reverse culture shock was a huge thing. It took a while. It took a couple weeks to get back to right, I'm American. But yeah.
I have a question, young lady.
No, I wondered who you are.
So, given the way the United States is, and you want to raise your children, and we've raised you to kind of be aware of your surroundings and kind of be safe, and now that you're older and driving around and you're going to places and grocery stores and Targets, kind of be aware of things. And because I was on the phone with you multiple times while you were in Korea, can you talk about your perspective of the safety aspect of the country there? Because I think that was a culture shock.
Yeah. I definitely had heard reports that Korea was a safe country for like thievery, because their camera system and their police force is very on top of those like little thieves and stuff. So like in America, when you go to a restaurant, you don't leave your purse to go to the bathroom. Like you just don't do that unless someone's at the table. But in Korea, like people in cafes, they put down their stuff, they leave their phone right on the table, and they go to the bathroom and no one takes it. Because they know that there are cameras and people will catch them. Like other customers would go, hey, like, can't take it, you know? But so for that part, I definitely didn't think anyone was gonna steal my stuff, like ever really. I mean, I was a little cautious because obviously I am American and I know like what happens here. But definitely on that part, it felt safer. There were some interesting people that came up and talked to me and wouldn't walk away from me, but that only happened twice, and it was at night, so, and I was out pretty late. So it's understandable that there's some people who are just like, they wanna, I don't know. But it definitely felt safer otherwise. When I was in a crowded train, people were trying very hard to not touch me, which was very nice. Like New York subway, like we all know what happens in the New York subway, but the Korean subway is everyone's very respectful. It was a very tight train, like, but everyone was trying to have their own personal space, not bother anybody. So that felt refreshing, because I'm like, wow, I'm on a crowded train, but people are still being respectful. It's really great. So I definitely think it is a safer country for all those things. Hi.
Yes. So I bought into your ideas completely, but I don't know that I'm going to be running out and buying a K-pop album anytime in the future, just simply because of maybe my generational gap there. Can you tell me some ways that I might be more acquainted with the culture that may not be music, entertainment?
Yeah, it is understandable that maybe some older generations don't want to interact with like the modern music scene. It's a lot to handle. The idols are younger, they're in like their mid-20s. So I would recommend K-dramas. K-dramas are a mix of like sitcoms and soap operas in the US, if I had to give it a comparison, and they're full of plot. Some of them have more mature concepts that could be beneficial for like adults. But they're very enjoyable and very fun, and some of them even have plots based in ancient Korea, so you can actually see like what they wore, like how they talked and things like that. And I find those very interesting, because I'm like, wow, this is so cool, like, because I know the producers did their research, because they're Korean and they did the research. So I think K-dramas is definitely a gateway for an older generation as well.
Well, Leah, your time is quickly coming to an end. So for those who don't know in the room, we have a tradition, and if I have a shorthand signal to the seniors that I tell them that I look forward to seeing them at graduation, which means while she may not know that she has gotten a certain grade level, she knows she's passed. So I look forward to seeing you at graduation. And then we're just gonna all come around Leah and pray for her.
That wasn't very respectful. I thought
Hey, I've been in America for a while now, you know.
Let's go. Let's pray for this young lady. Lord, we just thank you so much for Leah, for the experience that you allowed her to have, and just to see how incredible this creation is of yours, just with people from all over, and cultures and language and just everything. Lord, we just thank you for her, for allowing us to be a part of her life. Lord, as she looks ahead now to school in the fall and everything, Lord, just put a hedge of protection around her, draw her to yourself. Lord, grow her into a mighty woman of God. Help her to persevere through the end of the year and all of them. And we thank you that she's finished this. Help her to take a giant sigh of relief and be able to breathe a little better now. Just thank you for her so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. We're gonna have at least one graduate, so that's
At least one, all right.
At least one.
Seven,
That's right. Confirm, we're gonna have graduation. We've got to graduate.
It was better than the one in my reviews.
Right.
In fact, you have her linked up.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I saw that.
So I've done this social thing so many times.
Yeah, I have video of that. Mini graduation.
So glad you could come. Oh my god.
Certificates at the end of kindergarten. So yeah, when Holly and I dropped her off on that very first day, super junior. She went to
Sometimes when I'm like over the shoe and I fall over a little bit.
Now we're trusting other people with our kid, and now seniors like crazy. Her baby crazy. Yeah, I have 8 years to retire.